Oftentimes, we think of every single trial and tribulation that we face as an attack of the enemy. And while that can be true sometimes, there are certain seasons that we have to go through that God allows. And it takes discernment to know the difference. Let's have a chat. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're new to the family, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. And today's topic I'm actually very excited to share because I feel like it's one that we all need to know, and it's one that really changed my prayer life, so I really wanted to share with you guys. And yeah, let's get into it. So I've heard the saying of like how God allows certain things to happen, or how there's certain seasons you can't pray your way out of. And I've heard that, however, I don't think I fully processed it. Up until this weekend, I was in Maryland and I was driving and I left my house a little bit late. I was going to a new church and the time said 9:01. And you know, usually when you're driving, you could usually trim like 2-3 minutes, but that time was not changing. I was speeding up, not too fast though, because there's cameras everywhere in Maryland. But I was trying to catch up with the time and it just was not changing. That time stayed at 9:01. Even at certain times where I was like, oh, maybe I caught up a little bit, the time stayed at 9:01. And that thought came back to mind, but there are certain seasons we literally cannot get out of. We simply have to endure. We can't pray our way out of it. We simply have to endure it. And I think this is a very vital lesson for us all to learn, that not everything that doesn't seem so nice is an attack of the enemy. I don't know if I share this story, but I feel like I shared probably bits of this, but I remember there was a prayer challenge that I joined at one point. I was looking at my life, I was waiting for God to answer some prayers and all that, and throughout the prayer points and things that were said, I really felt like everything was an attack of the enemy. Like I wasn't doing this because there was an attack, I wasn't doing this, I wasn't at a certain stage in life because there was an attack of the enemy on my life. And I believe I mentioned it in my Thank God for That Answered Prayers video, where I'm so glad that God didn't let things happen when I wanted them to happen. I think I needed to go through that season of waiting, of groaning, of God, why? What is happening? With the pain, the tears, the everything. I think I needed to go through that, and I think God allowed that to build me up for what the season that I'm in right now and what's to come. Had I not gone through that, I wouldn't be equipped with the knowledge of what I need later on. And I remember that moment during that prayer being very hard, because I was just like I thought I understood what it meant. I thought I understood what season I was in, that God was just kind of molding me. But no, I then began to question everything. I felt like everything was an attack. Everything was like my village people are after me, all these things. It's like maybe because I didn't pray enough, maybe because I didn't fast enough. It just felt like everything was an attack. And I really want to encourage somebody today. Not every situation that's happening in your life is an attack of the enemy. Certain seasons are seasons that God is going to allow. Certain seasons are moments that God is going to use to build you up. And I think this is so important to discern what season you're in, because when you know what season you're in, when you know that it's not a spiritual attack, you can then change your prayer points. I remember being in that season and rebuking it and going God, take me out of this season. I rebuke it. I rebuke this. I rebuke. And it's like, bro, you're rebuking a season that you need. Seasons that are going to bring valuable lessons. Are they fun? Absolutely not. But ultimately, these are valuable seasons that we need. So instead of your prayers being things like, I rebuke this, God, I rebuke the spiritual attack, I rebuke the spiritual warfare, your prayer goes to God, build up my patience in this season. Your patience might be tested from every single angle. God, build up my patience, build up the spirit of love in me. Let me share the love with other people. Build up my strength in me, build up my peace in me. So that way, even when I don't understand and it feels like there's an attack on everywhere, I can still have peace and know that God is in control and God is allowing this to happen. That way I can take the lessons I need to learn. There's certain situations, I can't say this enough, there's certain situations you just need to go through. You just need to go through them. And I think when we realize that, I think it changes our mindset on a lot of things, because we don't see these things as awful things. I'm going to go to James 1:2-4. It says, Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for your endurance is fully developed. You'll be perfect and complete and needing nothing. I added the and, my bad. And I really love these few verses, and I'm going to go back to the topic of God allowing certain things to happen. I don't think if every trial and tribulation was bad, that it was just awful, none of them was from God, I don't think it would say consider it great joy. That just would not make sense. It says consider it great joy because we need certain moments like that. It's an opportunity for us to grow. And I love the part where it says, so let it grow, because you can't pray your way out of it. Like, it literally just has to happen. It's like, let the testing season happen, let the growth happen. Throughout that testing season, your faith will grow, your trust in God will grow. I remember a woman saying that she was going through a moment and she was like, God really used this situation to humble me. Like, her relationship with God grew, her prayer life with God grew during the testing season that she went through. God had to allow that to happen to her, unless she would have gone up high and mighty. I've shared my story of where I was going to be like, God, if you did this, it's because I did it by myself. I was not going to give any praise to God, but I had to go through those testing seasons, those trials, to know that, okay, God, thank you for allowing this to happen so my faith in you can grow. And when I changed my mindset from this is an attack to this is a moment for me to grow. This is a moment for my faith to grow. This is a moment for my trust to grow. This is a moment for my prayer life to grow, my relationship with God to grow. I look at it as joy because I'm like, okay, God, I'm like a little child again. I'm like, okay, God, what do you want me to learn in this season? A prayer that I pray is, God, birth your will out of this situation. Moments when I don't understand, God, what is your will? What am I not seeing? I love the song where it says, open the eyes of my heart. God, open the eyes of my heart so I can see what you're trying to tell me in this moment. I don't understand it. It's painful. It's troublesome. But I know that you're allowing it to happen. So open the eyes of my heart so I can see what you want me to see. I think that's so vital in our faith. And I really just love this verse. And I really want to encourage all of us to, it's 3 verses, but the more and more you read it, the different versions you read, God really begins to reveal certain things to you. And another version that I really like is the easy to read version, where it says, our brothers and sisters, you will have many kinds of trouble, but this gives you a reason to be very happy. You know that when your faith is tested, you learn to be patient in suffering. If you let that patience work in you, the end result will be good. You will be mature and complete. You will be all that God wants you to be. I love that version so much because it really encourages me to know that, like, God is doing something. And it's just like, God is doing something right now. I don't know what it is, but I know that God is doing something. And I think sometimes even our moments of testing, it feels like God is silent and stuff, but like, nah, God is doing something. That's why I'm going through this. God is allowing this to happen. So like, it's a good thing. And I love the part, I love the part where it says, if you let that patience work in you, because it takes a lot of patience to be going through something and not like want to wail and cry and scream. It takes a lot of patience, but it says, if you let that patience work in you, the end result will be good. You will be mature and complete. You will be all that God wants you to be. And I think when you really digest that verse, you don't look at certain things with so much like, ugh, God, why am I going through this? It's like, okay, God, what do you want me to learn? I'm a student. It's like you just get excited. You become a student again. You get excited. I'm like, what do you want me to learn today, God? What is the lesson that we're learning in this season? And I'm going to also go to Psalm 23 really quick. So that was James 1:2 that says, you will have many kinds of trouble. Psalm 23 verse 4 in NLT says, even when I walk through the darkest valley. And then Psalm 23:4, the TPT version, Passion Translation says, even when your path takes me through the valley of deepest darkness. I think those 2 verses really stuck out to me because it didn't say that we wouldn't go through this. And I really want to emphasize the when part, because the Bible never said, if I walk through the deepest darkness. The Bible never said we won't go through pain and suffering and all that. It says even when. In the James 1:2, it says you will have troubles of many kinds. It never said if you will have troubles. It says when. So like, and I think that's where a lot of us struggle, because we think the path to God is just straight. It's just a path of ease. Like, there's no trouble, there's no trials, there's no tribute. Like, it's just ease, and that's not the case. Back to the NLT version, it says, even when I walk through the deepest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Like I said, when you go through those testing seasons of like, God, what is going on? Or you feel silent, you're like, what is happening? Just know that God is close by you. And I think that also changes your perspective to know that, let me pray the prayers of God. Let me find joy in this season. Let me find peace in this season. Build up my faith. And I know that sometimes during this like testing season, it's a very fearful season. So I even love the Passion Translation where it says, even when your path, that means like the path of God, it's taking you through that deepest dark. That also confirms the whole point of like, that like not everything is bad that seems bad. If that makes sense. Not everything that feels awful and just seems like pain and suffering is like not the path of God. It says, even when your path takes me through the valley of deepest darkness. And that's just so like, I don't know, for me it just brings, I know it sucks, like these moments suck, but for me it brings me peace to know that like God is with me. God hasn't left me. Like, I'm still on the path of God. It's just a moment that I had to go through. It's just a season that I have to go through. And I really just like, even when your path, I'm getting too excited right now. But like, I just love that part where it says, even when your path takes me through the valley of deepest darkness, fear will never conquer me, for you already have. God has already conquered that. I'm just so excited about that, because I really, really struggle with the idea of like everything that was not nice was not from God. I felt like I told you, like I really felt like everything was an attack. I'm Nigerian. There's always like your village people. Like there's a lot of things, but I think just knowing that like even when your path takes me through the deepest, darkest valley, I will fear no evil. Fear will never conquer me, because you already have. Or I will fear no evil. I will not be afraid. The different versions that it says. But I just love that part, because like sometimes it's the path of God that takes us through that suffering. But like, consider it great joy, like James says. And it's just like, I don't know, I just really, really love that verse. Consider it great joy. Consider it a great opportunity. God, it's really scary right now, but I shall have peace in you. God, it's really scary right now, but build up my faith so I can have joy. Build up my faith so I can be mature. Open the eyes of my heart so I can see what you want me to see. Remove any veil that is covering me, that is blocking me from seeing what you want me to see, that is blocking me from learning the lessons you want me to learn in this moment. Not every season is an attack of the enemy. Again, I'm going to emphasize, there are moments of spiritual warfare, there are moments of attack, but learn the season that God is allowing. And I even think about the story of Job, like, because I think we reference the story of Job a lot, and this is just my personal interpretation about it in this moment, but feel free to go back to God and pray about it. One of the things that I feel like kind of popped into mind is like, Job, God allowed that to happen. Like it said that Job was blameless, like he was like the perfect spiritual servant of God. He technically didn't do anything to cause that to happen, because sometimes we even think that certain testing season is because we maybe failed God or stuff like that. I would think it's like God punishing us. However, with Job, it said he was blameless. God allowed that to happen to prove a point. That way we can now talk about Job many, many years later. God allowed him to go through that season, and he still came out on the end. And it was said that his latter days were greater than his former days. And like Job is just one of them. I think about the many, many stories in the Bible. I haven't read the full Bible, but like I feel like there's not that many stories that you'll find of anyone that didn't face any form of trials or situationships or moments where like their faith was tested. Like it's just part of our journey sometimes. And I think I just really, really wanted to like point that out. Like even the people in the Bible, they went through their trials too, that God allowed to happen to build up their faith in Him, to build up their endurance. And I'm going to touch on this very briefly because I'm going to cover it in a later video, either next week or the weeks after, but it's Matthew 5:16 where it says, in the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your Heavenly Father. I wanted to reference this really quick of just like, even when your situation doesn't make sense and you still have joy and people are kind of like, yo, girl, there's an eviction notice on your door. Why are you having joy right now? I think moments like that is when other people can see the light of God shining through us, because the joy that we will have throughout the testing season, throughout the trial season, when we should be down, when we should be sad, that light will shine bright. I know it talks about good deeds, but I think when that light shines bright in us and we don't look at it as misery, I think then people can see. Then I think people can see God at work in us, and I think those are moments where we can use to pull people in to know God. Yeah, that was just what I wanted to share really quick, and I pray that maybe there are certain situations where you felt like, God, what is happening? I pray that God begins to open the eyes of your heart. I pray that God begins to help you discern what seasons you're in. I pray that God begins to share prayer points you need to pray. I pray that you begin to see God in the situation. I pray that you begin to see God in the middle of the pain and not see that this is a thing that is happening to you, but it's something that is happening for you. I hope this video has blessed you, and I pray that God all gives us strength to weather the different seasons of life. Anyway, that's it for me, y'all. I shall see you in the next one, and bye. Oh. shoot, I thought it was gonna be I thought the Christian walk was gonna be a cute little walk.